Definitely the scariest horror movie I've ever seen. Based on the real supernatural events in Taiwan province, the film has been changed for those who are small and can't watch it at all. Finally, Qianfang strongly recommends all the friends who love you to watch it together. The story happened on the Ghost Festival when a boy went to visit a grave with his mother and grandma. He was hit by something on the way, and his grandma told him to watch carefully while walking, otherwise he would be easily hit. If he wanted to kill him, he would kill him. It's you. If nothing happens, something will happen soon. Just when grandma was with her mother, Xiaoqi walked down the mountain alone. Why was he looking at her? The thing was under control, and he walked through a land full of things and finally knelt down in front of Shun. Cannon opened it. His eyes instantly turned white and immediately lost their meaning. What he found in his new sight was a head covered with blessing curses. The sky was covered with dark clouds, and it was obvious that something had happened to Chuping. It was not until her mother, Damei, and her grandmother realized that Xiaoqi had disappeared. Just as they were looking around, Xiaoqi had returned to the old station and came to the third floor with a kitchen knife. This is the home area. Grandma forbids anyone from entering. Xiaoqi was seen rising and falling down the door, unable to hold back the kitchen knife. The fart can. Finally, Xiaoqi entered the room and found a gu hui can under the bed, with another person underneath. The woman's photo then slammed Tansy to the ground. At this time, it was raining heavily outside. My mother, Damei, and my grandmother were driving home in the police car. They watched them enter the old station and quickly returned to the car. Yes or no? After the police left, Damei turned over the house, but could not find Xiaoqi. Grandma came out of it and kept licking it. He picked up the phone and found that he couldn't get through at all, so he decided to go to the mage to help him go out in the heavy rain, and his mother finally left. Damei came to the third floor alone and saw the broken guhui on the ground. He walked to the mirror and 5 words appeared on it. When he looked at it, his hair was lifted up by Makina's power. Dawei wanted to escape from the room, but found that the text could not be opened. At this moment, a few drops of blood fell on his head. In a panic, he hid in and then looked out cautiously. Suddenly, the man is Aji, Xiaoqi's boyfriend. He was born with On My Oji because Xiaoqi specially sent him a text message before sweeping the grave. However, Aji went to pick him up, but the phone call could not get through, so he came over to see what happened. What happened? When he learned that the woman in front of him was his future mother-in-law, Aji looked in disbelief. She had taken such good care of herself. The mirror hanging on the wall exploded, and a stingy cry came from inside. Jay stretched out his face and found that it led to another world. In order to rescue Xiaoqi, the two entered through the mirror. Except for the old environment, the rest was exactly the same as before. Xiaoqi's voice came from outside. As long as I am alone, you will be safe. In the end, Damei slowed down a step. When he ran to the border, he found that he was nowhere to be seen. What did Damei think? Just when he turned around, a pair of hands appeared, trying to pull him into the bottom. Fortunately, Aji rushed over in time. The two of them quickly ran into the house. Under the table, just when they felt they were safe, they were pulled away by a strong force, but there was no danger. Just when they were confused, Damei heard someone calling her on the road. He followed the sound and looked for it, just in time to see Xiaoqi sitting in front of the piano about to commit suicide, but Damei Jian stopped him. Your fault is right. Your fault is your fault. It was Xiaoqi who changed the scene, and Dazhong Xiaoqi turned into a playing hook. This world is full of weirdness. Just when they were about to leave here, Aji suddenly found that the street had turned into the sound of a real loser at some point. Came from downstairs. The two hurriedly went out to check and found that Grandma was bringing the mage in. Then the mage entered the cook's room, found the photo under the bed, drew a few figures on the photo with a brush, and then placed the photo on the ground. Above, Hiran looked so beautiful, and then handed a brick to Grandma and asked him to read her name while typing a photo. Every time the N hit Aji's space, it would vibrate. After a few hits, the mage seemed to feel something. Grandma turned her head, and the figure of a girl slowly appeared from the crutch. Aji reminded her grandma, and then begged to hit the girl with a look of pain. Aji watched all this in the mirror, but he couldn't help but keep exerting force, and a crack appeared on the street. The ghost lying on Xiaoxi's body escaped from his mouth. The space where Damei was located began to collapse. Aji found a good opportunity to jump back out of the space, but Damei stayed in that space forever. Side D turned into reality again, and Aji also got up from the ground. He first reported Xiaoqi to a safe place, then turned around to check the situation. Grandma was holding Fa Shi's legs tightly, but when he turned around, a pair of hands directly dragged his feet off the ground to get the meal. The mage immediately escaped and pushed the ghost back. In order to cause too much damage, he quickly took out his weapon and prepared to fight Apiao to death. Due to the dark environment, Apiao was never seen. Card. Talk. Suddenly, he lost control and was taken away by Apiao. He suddenly felt that something was wrong. He saw 2 drops of blood appear on his grandmother's face, and Apiao had already reached the top of his head. When he saw his grandma being investigated, Foshan Fashi was ready to take the opportunity to escape, but because he was too nervous, he went down the stairs directly. At this time, Grandma was walking towards him with a knife. All this was seen by Adi. He still wanted to run away, but his grandmother took a shot. But surprisingly, her grandmother did not hurt her, but took him to the border and asked him to go down to find something. When I opened a package from the top, it turned out to be a human head. It turned out that 30 years ago, my grandmother had 3 children, 1 girl and 2 girls. However, he favored boys over girls and gave all his love to boys. Since both sisters were lacking, they had a good relationship. One day, Damei's shoes fell into the water. My brother drowned in the river trying to help him cut a snake. In order to evade responsibility, Demi snatched his sister's shoes and put all the blame on her. Grandma began to resent Xiaomei. More than 10 years of suppression caused Xiaomei to have mental problems. She always felt that her family was not doing her job and her condition was out of control. Grandma found Master Wei Qi to write and watched her sister being taken away. The eldest sister turned around indifferently. No one thought that the mage turned out to be a scumbag exorcist who violated Xiaomei. After returning home, Xiaomei suffered a mental breakdown and finally chose to jump the police. To avoid being killed by an innocent soul, he deliberately deceived her grandmother that Xiaomei was too lucky during her lifetime and must be thrown into a state of withering. After her body was cremated, she was placed under the watch of a god deep in the bamboo forest, and finally she was buried. Under the bed. This is the only way to prevent Xiaomei from turning into a vicious ghost. After learning that her sister was dead, she had a fierce quarrel with her mother-in-law, but she accidentally stepped on a puddle. She was overwhelmed with fluids and fell into a cruel situation. It turned out that Damei had already died because she walked too far. Dragging people around led to the loss of part of the memory. Whether it was before the failure or when searching for Xiaoqi, Grandma was always alone from the beginning. The reason why Aji can see Damei is just because he was born with yin and yang. Now that the last seal has been lifted and the Taoist priest who harmed him is dead, Xiaomei left her mother-in-law's body and was taken away by the police for murder. But the story it's not over because there is also a more powerful Apiao hidden in it. As for who it is, you can go to the original film to learn the answer.